hottest day of the year in Norway. Yes, dog. Yeah, it's like 30 degrees. It's never 30 degrees here, ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you got me out of the beach. Can you believe it?
Wow, video unavailable. For some reason, I cannot do that. I think I need to record, stop recording. Hang on a minute. For some reason, it doesn't work.
So many technical difficulties.
This time, I want to make sure that this is going to be working fine. So I will stop the recording here. It's on live in YouTube. Let me make sure that it's in YouTube. All right, let's see whether we are in YouTube.
So a paddle can be used for multiple uses, also for fanning yourself when it's too hot.
Paddles have different purposes.
Different purposes. Yeah, I'm dying. It's so hot here. I don't even have a fan in my dungeon. I have to buy a fan, but you never need a fan in Norway, so it's always too cold here.
All right. Can anybody check the YouTube and just tell me, is anybody having access to my account? Gülcan, may I ask you to do that? Or Susanna? I see some familiar faces, or Brett, whoever has the access to my account. It is Eric, E-R-I-C-L-L-I. So it says on the screen that it is live in YouTube, but I can't see it here, though.
I can't find you.
All right, hang on a minute. I think I'm going to do this again, make sure that it's running well. So
I just checked it, and it's on there, on YouTube.
It's on there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, perfect. In that case, let's do it. Let's start.
Let's get on with it. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Screw
right.
up.
So is it recording on YouTube too?
It should be. It should be live in YouTube now. So I can't see it, but hopefully it is there because I'm not recording it here. So let me record it here to be on the safe side.
Recording in progress.
Okay, welcome, Kalis. It's wonderful to see you again after 1 month. When did we finish the festival? I think it was, when was it? A month ago.
July 1st? July 1st.
No, we are on June 30th,
June
so
1st.
it was...
And it's July tomorrow. July 1st is tomorrow.
So probably a month ago.
Yeah, not probably, definitely. Well, exactly, almost.
And you had an amazing workshop about the kink, BDSM, and the fetish. So I really enjoyed it. I know that it's not my thing, but regardless, I think people need to learn more about kink and what is that, how you can get involved, and what is the limits, boundaries, and aftercare, and all these details. People need to learn a little bit about it. That's the reason I really wanted to do this live event with you. And I know that it's going to be amazing. So in the meantime, we are admitting the people to the meetings. So I'll also do that.
Letting them come in.
All right, let them go.
Yeah, I can tell you, I'll share a little bit about the festival as people are coming in. And some of you have been in the festival. I can see some familiar faces there, so that's lovely. That's wonderful. The festival was just so beautiful, but also very intense. The workshop, the Kink Lab, I have to say, I've been on a rampage for 2 months now. So this is like my landing. You got me on my landing day. This is my first day off in fucking ages. I did 2 weeks in Holland in May and did a workshop there as well. The Sana organized. And then I went to Turkey and we did the festival there, which was fantastic. And I did 2 workshops actually. One by myself, the Kink Lab, and then the second one was polarity play, so switch it on with Iron John, and that was also about playing with polarities and switching, which is another fun thing of BDSM. And we hosted a synergy temple, which was fantastic. It was like a wild temple. Yeah, I see your little smiles. Yeah, I see.
Yeah. I remember the moments.
Yeah, probably a little bit too, those moments probably too risque to share, even on YouTube. It was a little bit intense, but that was, as it should be. It's a Conscious Sexuality festival. So by the last day, you would want people to be getting it on, right? And most certainly were. And then after that, I stayed in Turkey for a few more days and went sailing, which was beautiful. Again, organized by Dasana, the organizer of the festival. Fantastic way to land from the festival. So beautiful. Then I came back to Norway and stayed here for a week with like multiple clients wanting to see me because I was away. And so, of course, they want to see me before the summer starts. And then the Tantra Festival here. So there was like a weekend of full-on Tantra stuff. I also taught the Kink Lab and I also did a temple. So it was like more. And the day after, I went to the Burning Man in Norway. So it was like a week of building stuff and creating crazy art. And then I taught the Kink Lab again. So I taught the Kink Lab 4 times in 1 month. It's like the most I've ever done. I now have it down pat. It's 2 hours and 45 seconds, 45 minutes and however many seconds. I got it.
But this time we are going to do it live, online, and we are going to keep it short though. But yeah, I really want you to go through the one by one, how you want to start. But before doing that, I have one more announcement because Nedret asked me to announce it too. Conscious Sexuality Festival is happening again next year, 2023, on May. I don't remember exactly the dates, but I will tell you at some point.
It's May 2nd to May 7th. So it's 7 days. And it's going to be, May 2nd to May 7th. So we already know the dates, so we can already plan.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
So really I see the familiar faces from the festival. I'm looking forward to see you all.
Hey. Wonderful.
Good. Let's start. Some of the people miss your workshop, and it is very new topic to most of the people. First, could you tell me what is kink?
Okay. Kink is it's an umbrella term for all the things that are outside the norm of sexuality. So the heterosexual, heteronormative sexuality. So it will depend on the culture, of course. For some cultures, something is kinky, and for some cultures, is not. And in some subcultures, it's some things are also in and out of the kinks. So it's like anything that's different than the norm. I'm trying to think of a very unusual example. In some groups, in some Tantra groups, it's okay to have sex during the menstrual period. Like you want to do it during menstrual period because it's embracing the nature and embracing the moon, and you can do it as a ritual form to, connect with the blood and all these different things. So that's not necessarily kinky, but in other environments, that would be kinky, for example. So yeah, it will depend. But BDSM itself is within that umbrella of kink. It's like one of the different ways that you can do things. And fetishes is another part underneath that umbrella. But there could be like, some people would think swinging, like being swingers, couple swapping, that would be kinky. That would be a little bit kinky. So it kind of, it's an overall term. Then we have BDSM, of course, which stands for, it's 4 letters. It stands for 6 things. I could have my little board here explaining everything that I do. At the moment, B&D is bondage and discipline. So discipline it could be like, physical discipline, or it could be a mental discipline or a psychological discipline. You have to kind of stand in the corner or, do some particular tasks as a way to be more disciplined with yourself. I for example, put my subs into a fitness regime that is a form of discipline because I want them to get more fit and healthy to be able to be better subs. In that way, if they can't carry, big suitcases up my stairs, that's a problem, So we want them to be as fit as possible, and it's good for their health as well, But we want, strong and fit pets that are not gonna cough their hearts out when they climb by 4 flights of stairs. I live in a high ceiling, 4th floor apartment in Oslo, so yeah. Anyway.
All right, cool. So B and D, you talk about it.
And B is for bondage. I skipped that one. Bondage, you can think of ropes, or you can have like leather restraints, or you can even use scarves. I think I have a scarf here. You can use silk scarves to do some bondage on the hands or on the feet or around the body. And again, you can also hold someone down. That's a form of bondage as well. Or some types of wrestling are like a little bit bondage-y, you know, like trying to restrain someone down with your body weight. Then we have DS, so B and D, DNS, and DNS is dominance and submission, which is again the polarity play. So some people, it will depend. It's like some people say it's masculine and feminine, but I don't think dominance is necessarily masculine and submission is necessarily feminine. It's more the energy that you can embody into it. But yeah, so many people do dominance and submission in their sexuality, but they don't think it's so kinky. It's just a natural, natural cultural polarity that people have, with the masculine normally being dominant and feminine normally being submissive, but it doesn't have to be that way. It's just the cultural norms that we had for many, many hundreds of years. Mm-hmm. And then we have the last ones, S and M at the end. It means sadomasochism, and sado means sadist, like comes from sadomaso. The count that wrote all those beautiful books. So it's kind of, he was quite a sadist and was about inflicting pain, the pleasure in inflicting pain on someone. And masochism comes from Sacher-Masoch, who was an influential writer as well. He wrote Venus in Furs, and he was very submissive and, liked the pain. And there was a lot of emotional, the angst of being submissive as well. So it's kind of the enjoyment of pain. Now, interestingly, S&M is only a small part of BDSM. And people have this idea that, oh, if I'm kinky, that means I have to do all of this and do all the crazy stuff and like the extreme things and the gimp masks and the chains and all that stuff. You don't have to. So just you can like a particular part of kink, and that's totally okay to just enjoy that. I remember I have a friend in Australia who he loves the fetish clothes, the shiny, not even latex, but shiny PVC, like loves the PVC for himself and for his girlfriends. He gets all these clothes for them, and it's like shiny, everything shiny, and his claws. He has these metal claws that he uses to scratch people. So that's his thing, shiny and claws, that's it. So, and that's totally fine. And he comes to the fetish parties and he knows that's his thing and that's what he likes to do. And people know it, and that's totally cool. And he's there, and sometimes he's like watching me, he's like, oh, what you do to people, but it's okay. So we're there together, and we can have different fetishes and be okay with it. And this is a part that I always love to teach people, is that just because you don't like a particular kink, it doesn't mean that it's necessary. Like it's hard. Sometimes a kink can be extreme and crazy and weird. And you might think, oh my God, that's disgusting, or that's crazy, or whatever. Fine. But it's also good for us to recognize and to respect that your kink is not my kink, but that's okay. Just because we don't have to like everything. It's like a huge menu. I could go here with a board again, like, let's talk about fetishes. That would be like 15 minutes already of everybody in the group telling me different fetishes, foot fetishism, strap-on, whipping, diapers, you name it, all these different fetishes, hundreds of fetishes. And sometimes people like just one or two of them, and that's totally fine. And it doesn't mean, I like to instill in people that it's important that we respect each other if we want to be respected as well. Like don't throw rocks if you live in a glass house yourself. So if you like certain fetishes, I mean, everybody has something that they like. It could be hair pulling, it could be dressing up in, different gender clothes. It could be, you name it. Like there's so many different types of things you can do. And excuse me wiping my hands all the time. I'm so sweaty.
It's special, very hot day in Oslo. One question.
Yeah, it's really hot. I'm gonna have to buy an air conditioner.
You mentioned about the pain and pleasure. So I really curious about what is the relationship between the pain and pleasure. If you inflict some pain to other person, or you may receive some pain to increase your pleasure. So you have studied about this. So just can you tell me more about what is the relationship between the pain and pleasures? Certain people do masturbate just, by hanging themselves or just do some other weird stuff. So I really want to learn more about that.
Okay. People have this idea that pain is a very specific concept. Pain can be so vague. It's such a wide experience. What I like when I talk about sadomasochism, that idea of masochism of wanting to receive pain, most masochists, it's not about pain, it's about intensity. It's about intense sensation, really. Because, if any masochist, if they go to the dentist, it's not going to be pleasurable to be at the dentist. Maybe if they have a dentist fetish, it could be improved. But maybe, again, it's if you stub your toe, or if you cut your finger, if you get a paper cut or something, it's not, oh my God, I'm getting a hard on now because of this pain. No, pain is always in context, right? So it's all about how you apply it and in what circumstances do we apply it. And you can think about it. I mean, I give this example a lot because it's something that people sometimes can refer back to. If you're making love with your partner and you're kind of lost in it, primal, wild, really wild kissing, grabbing each other, all this stuff. And then afterwards, in the aftermath, you look and you have some real hardcore scratch marks on the back, real full-on scratches, sometimes even a little bit crusty, bleedy, things. And you're like, whoa, it scratched me so hard, but I didn't feel it in the moment. It was just raw. It was just raw, intense sensation. It wasn't pain. But obviously, if it drew blood, it was intense. It was full on. But of course, when you're in the throes of passion, of sexuality, and all your hormones are through the roof, so much cocktail of brain chemistry, all the endorphins are going on. So you've got so much happening that the pain is interpreted in a different way. Obviously, if you're there and you're, I guess if you are in a same thing if you are playing football, for example, and you are running and playing, and there's the importance of the game, and you might kick something or hurt yourself, but then you keep on going anyway, and you don't notice the pain until later. There's many situations where this happens. The adrenaline, and I'm not going to go too much into brain chemistry stuff because it's intense. You can read my thesis if you want. That's all there. So I was so interested in this a few years ago that I did a master's research on the neurochemistry of S&M, of consensual pain, of why do people like it? And what, how's the brain involved in this? And coming back to your question, because I can talk about this for a whole hour, 2 hours, I've got another lecture about this, about the neuroscience of kink. But this is about the pleasure and pain occupy the same neural system in your brain, but they're not in opposite ends. You don't have pain here and pleasure here. They overlap. There's a lot of overlap. So, and it gets activated at the same time, sometimes. And it's more about your context, how you perceive it. You'll be different. You perceive the pain differently according to what else is happening and what intentions you have and who you're with and all these other components. For example, if they've done all these research, and you can, again, look at the studies, the whole list of studies there, of things that can affect your pain. So if you, they've done these tests of pain, like put a hot, something on the arm like this, nothing kinky, but, just putting a hot tab on the arm. And if it was given by an attractive member of the opposite sex, the person receiving it kind of could take more, and they didn't name it as so painful. It was okay, so because they felt less pain, they reported less pain if it was, because they were also excited about, if it was someone attractive. So that, of course, works with BDSM. Can imagine you're in a kink scenario, you're there with your partner, they're dressed really hot and you're just so in the moment. Of course, you're going to be feeling the pain differently. This is just one small study. And they were like, if you want to check out my thesis, I can put the link later. I've got it up online. And there's so many of these studies and things like nice music, pleasant music can make a difference. If it's paired with another contrasting thing, if you've got pleasure and pain, alternating pleasure and pain, it's going to alternate. It's going to change the way that you feel the pain because it's contrasted with the pleasure as well. So many different things that are like that. And if you've got like a really hard pain, then the pleasure is going to feel better as well. So it's, yeah, I can go on forever about this.
That's
pain
so
and pleasure.
cool.
It's also how you perceive it. One more thing. How you frame the pain in your motivation also affects how you feel it. So if you're doing it as, if you don't want it, if you don't consent to it, the pain will be more traumatic. If you consent to it and you can handle it, then it's more like an achievement. You feel like, I survived this, I got through it. And this is the sort of thing that happens with high level sports, you know, like intense sports, the Tour de France, for example, or, you know, Grand Slams in tennis, the sort of, you know, extremes of the body that they put themselves through to achieve a high level of sports. It's because they're achieving it. So the pain is not so painful because it has high meaning, a strong meaning for them. Things like that, for example.
So
anyway.
we link the pleasure with always the orgasm. So kind of the orgasm is the end of the pleasure, which is the highest point, let's say, or just the moment of bliss. Does it happen the same? Does it happen also with pain? Is it possible to have an orgasm with pain?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay,
and
that's interesting.
There's many people, like some people who are really into painful stuff, and who have high pain tolerance, and sometimes we call them pain sluts. So you can really, it's the definition of orgasm as well can be at play here. We normally think of the orgasm as, you know, this intense, and then it peaks and then it drops, and it's, you know, contained within this space. And as you know, with Tantra, that's just one form of orgasm, right? It's the peak orgasm. But there might be other forms of orgasm that are kind of more in a wave form, or they go up and then they go down, and then it's dull, and then it's up and it's deep. So it's so many different styles of feeling a blissful connection with your partner as well, and pleasure in your body, and how it can move in waves. And yeah, so this with this pain play, you know, you can definitely get orgasmic feelings from it. And yeah, it depends on the person, of course, and how much experience they have, and the connection with the partner, and the circumstances. Of course, you can't just go, right, turn it on.
That's cool. Very good. Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about BDSM, because, you know, most people wants to learn a little bit about more. And, you know, we have been talking about it, and you had a beautiful workshop. And at your workshop, I was with a partner, and we have been practicing just the different roles, the dom and the sub roles. I didn't like to be a sub, but I like to be a dom, you know, and when I start smacking her, and I kind of like it, and just, you know, it made me hard and just, you know, aroused, and I really get really, you know, just very intense with that. But I think the way that she was accepting and she was allowing me to do that, that also turned me on. So I really need to know. Yeah. So tell more about this BDSM thing, why it makes the people turn on, just what makes them to do the things differently, makes them just aroused, or whatever you want to talk about it.
Well, of course, people get aroused by all sorts of different things. And some things will be from, I'll give you an example. There's I really like I love getting my feet worshipped, right? I actually can have orgasms from when my feet get licked or sucked, for example, especially, you know, the tongue between the toes there. Oh my God, it's just delicious. And people say, oh my God, that's so weird. How can you get orgasm from your feet? But Yeah, funnily enough, I mean, of course, I've done domination for 20 years. So you can say Pavlovian response, I've been getting my feet worshipped so much that I kind of connect the pleasure of that with the pleasure of other things in session, like the Pavlov response, conditioned response. However, I also have a memory that comes from my childhood that I used to wear these little jelly shoes, Melissa shoes. Yeah, he's shaking the head there a couple. And I used to wear them. I loved them so much because I had to wear orthopedic boots for 2 years and I hated them. So when I finished with it, I put those shoes and I didn't want to take them off. I loved them so much. I would not allow my mom to take them off. I was maybe 3 or 4 years old. Yeah. And I would go to sleep with the shoes. And of course, after I fell asleep, my mom would take off my shoes and then wipe my feet with a little hot, well, here's a towel. Look, one I prepared earlier. She would wipe my feet with this like wet towel and like rub in between the toes and just like give me all this love of caring for my feet because they were dirty from the thing. And she knew I loved the shoes. She didn't want me to like force me to take off the shoes. You know what I mean? It's like she just washed my shoes and then it was fine. So for many years of my life, maybe a couple of years of my life, I went to sleep with my feet getting, caressed in a loving, safe environment. Why am I not? Of course I have foot fetish. Thank you, Mom. That's awesome. So and that can say, oh, were you traumatized or whatever? It's like, well, you can be traumatized in the right way, towards pleasure in that scenario. And I know for many people, is to say many fetishists and many foot fetishists especially, they have a memory of their, like, it's like how I always ask about the foot because I have my own thing, so I ask my clients, and my students, why do you like feet? And do you remember when it started? And for most of them, like, I didn't even know what sex was. It was like 5, 6. They had a connection with the feet that was pre-sexual. It was just the sensation, the eroticism, and it wasn't about getting hard on or having an orgasm. It was just the pure body sensation and the sense of safety. And I guess walking around, and then the mom's there with the feet, or, and people have different pantyhose fetish depending on their age group because of what was being worn at the time. Some people love the 80s, stockings, the full brief with the, so many different things. So it's kind of interesting to see what comes up. But yeah, so many movies, they put out this thing of like, oh, you do BDSM, you must be traumatized. You got something from your childhood, you had some sort of trauma, and then you're working it out that way. And I think if you're human, you have trauma. Everybody has some form of trauma. Even if your life was perfect, if you have perfect parents who treated, did everything you needed and all that, that's still in one way traumatizing because then it doesn't prepare you for the world where you don't get everything you want. So if you're spoiled, you also traumatized. So there's all these, but people will deal with their trauma in whichever way works for them. For some people, they use kink. Other people are workaholics. Other people do crazy sports. It's just one way to let it out. And some people do therapy for years, so, or get healings or go to different festivals and like work out stuff through workshops, clear out their trauma in different ways. I've done ISTA and a bunch of other things, primal as well. So I've been working on that parallel, but I know plenty of people who would not step their foot in a healing, wishy-washy hippie type thing. Oh no, I don't believe in that crap. But they'll come to a domination session and cry their eyes out and have therapy that way, So there's different strokes for different folks.
So I know that you're accepting clients, and they are mostly the men are coming to you, right? And to become to sub. And
I'm going to take off my corset because it's way too hot. I can't handle it anymore. So I'm going to do it.
That's certainly fine.
This is not a teasing strip. This is just.
We are starting. Let's see how it goes. But
I'll just go like this. Ooh.
That's cool.
Can you see the marks?
Yeah. What is that?
It's from the corset.
Oh my goodness!
You see, this corset has little mesh.
Okay. Wow.
So when I have it really tight, then it gives these marks. So if you're a sub, you might like the rope marks after you get tied up. You get the mark and you're like, oh yeah, that's really nice. So this is dom bondage. the dominatrix bondage. I get the corset. So I tie myself up. Oh, that's so much better.
All right, yes, that's for sure. You're more comfortable. So, is there any pattern with the guys coming to you? What you said is very right, actually. So we all have traumas. We all have the different ways to handling these. So some goes to the breathwork, some goes to the psychologist, some goes to psychiatrist. Get the drugs. You know, there are different ways of dealing it. And then I'm understanding that BDSM kink is another version of it. Just using a sex is another version of dealing with these traumas. But when we're looking at the guys, your clientele, are there any common pattern on these guys?
Yeah, I used to try to find patterns because I love the psychology part. You know, I really enjoy it. But yeah, it's so much variation, so variation. And nowadays, let me think. In the last 2 years, I've had subs like from 19-year-olds that are saving up in between college tests and exams and stuff. They're at university and they're coming here for a session, every 6 months or something, because they can't afford it all the time. So they come and see me once in a while. And then you've got people who are, like the executive CEOs, who come, once a month or once every 6 months, or every 6 weeks. And we see each other all the time. I have people that are, I also have, people that are much older, in their 70s even, or people who retired. People who retire, like, so in their 65, more or less, 65, 67, they retire. And then finally they give themselves the opportunity to, what do I want to do with my life now? I'm going to go fulfill this bucket list stuff. So there's all different types of people who are wanting to. I also have female clients. You're asking, like, most of my clients are male. Yes, but also no. I also have quite a few female clients now who want to experience the submission. They might be heterosexual, they might, some of them are lesbian as well, but I also have heterosexual women who want to experience submission, but they may not be feeling so safe with men about their submission yet. So at least with a woman, they feel it's safer. There's like, it's not in my interest to rape them, for example. It's like, it's just strap on, it's fine. And I'm a professional, so I've got, there's so much more safety within that, because of course I want to give them a good service. So whereas just meeting someone on Tinder and saying, oh yeah, I'm submissive, I want to play. How do you know if they have experience, if they know what the fuck they're talking about, if they have learned how to do the ropes proper, and, and if they don't have, bad intentions, yeah, 50 Shades of Grey is hot, but if it's a guy that, if Christian Grey wasn't the hot guy that is the man of my dreams, then he'll be a stalker. He'd be like a fucking freak stalker. Like, read the book again and imagine it's a completely different person that you're not attracted to. Then it would be. So it's like, again, it's the context that makes a difference. So I get women as well. I get a lot of couples that want to learn about kink. So we play together. Sometimes I teach one of them to dominate, or I, dominate one and then dominate the other together, or we co-dominate them together. I sometimes have couples that are both sub. So I dominate both of them together and kind of make them do things to each other, which is horny. It's like porn director. Now you do this. Now you suck him. Now you. So there's a lot of, oh yes, mistress. It's like puppets.
So that's beautiful.
I love my life.
Yeah. So we've been talking about different versions of the sexuality. One of them is sensuality, the other is sexuality. We also talk a little bit about the energetic way as well, so without touching, just only feeling the energy. And kink is one of the way of expressing this sexuality. And when we hear the BDSM, of course, people always get curious about what is in there. And just always they're expecting a leather, just a woman in leathers with a vamp in her hand. And that kind of vision people might have. So now I see a lot of tools back there. So could you tell a little bit about what these tools are and what are the names? I think some people need
Of
to
course. Yeah,
just
thank
learn a
you.
little bit more about it.
Let's start with some sensation play. So, in fact, let me check if I have it here. I don't think I do actually. Okay. So this is a Wartenberg wheel. This is something that you can use for sensation play. It's like nice, pointy and a little bit scratchy, but also very intense. They used to use this to find out where you had nerve damage. So it kind of goes, just show. And I also like to use it like this. So this is a kinky toy, but it might be hard to find or get or order on the internet. So you can also use one of these, like a comb. This is actually one of those that you put the onion and then you cut through really tiny. I don't know if you have these in Turkey, but you can also use a fork, for example. I had lots of forks at the Kink Lab and people were scratching each other with a fork, which use the fork. And then my feathers are all drying at the moment, but I have this soft furry thing, which is, it's just a pen. Yeah. So you can have like these fluffy ticklers that you get at the sex shop and it costs you, I don't know, 20 euros or something. Or you can just get one of these pens, which costs like €1. And it's soft and fluffy, or a feather. I've got the feathers, they're kind of wet over there because I just came back from the Nordic burn. So I washed them yesterday. So sensation toys. And the interesting about sensation is that don't underestimate the power of sensation play, because your whole skin, like your skin is your biggest sex organ. Why are we just focusing on the small part over here in the front and maybe the nipples? Yeah. So like here you can like really get the sensation everywhere in your skin, and breathing and using the tantric techniques of really just breathing, connecting to the body, and then focusing your attention on every little detail. And for this, it's nice to go a little bit soft and slowly instead of like doing this sort of thing. Just really nice and slow, kind of really, with the feathers even more intense. Yeah. And then we've got pegs. Again, I'm going to show the sex shop variety. These are clamps. Some people call them nipple clamps, but they can be clamps anywhere. You can put them on your ear, right? Or you can put them, on the balls or on the genitals, in the labia, different parts of the body. I sometimes like to, there's actually a pressure point there. Whew, that's intense. And this is nice as well. This is pretty. These can be quite intense, Japanese clover clamps. So if you're going to go to sex shop, this might be better because these are adjustable. So you can kind of make them a little bit wider. So if you have sensitive nipples, this is a good option because you can kind of adjust just to when it's tight enough that it will hold, but still comfortable. Or, just that little bit of pain, just a little bit up to your edge, My slaves say, like, I give them people one of the things that I teach at the Kink Lab is how to gauge if it's too much. Yeah. So actually remind me to tell them about the range later.
Okay,
0
cool.
to 10. Yeah,
Okay.
because I don't want to mess up this. This is from the sex shop, but you can also get that at a regular shop. And this one is from IKEA. It's very light and fun, and you can attach many together like this with a string. I love this on the balls, especially. You attach them all together and then tie it and then pull it. It's fun.
All right.
Can you tell I'm a sadist? Well, with consent,
Yeah, that's
people love intensity, and some people just love that intensity down there. It's like that. Oh my God. Oh, that was intense. Oh, poor you. I'll massage your balls now. It's okay. And then like pain, pleasure, pain, pleasure. It's like, oh, thank you, mistress. Kindness, you know, evil, kindness. Evil. So the contrast creates this intensity. And in the end, we're just kind of cuddling each other and feeling so. But anyway, so we're talking about toys. Yeah, so you can get toys. I'll show you the one I got in Turkey, actually. These I got in Turkey at a 7-Eleven. So, you know, you can get them anywhere. I also got some forks and some other things there. And
so if you want to explore, you can really just go first to feel it. You can go and very simple, basic stuff, and to see
exactly.
whether it is for you.
Especially starting with sensation play, and then working it gradually. You know, working gradually with the little, like bit by bit. You learn more things and you try different toys. And every time I go to a hardware shop, I'm looking around and textures, you know, and I'm touching things and I'm running it over my arm. And sometimes I get a little bit, this is you know, where do I have that thing? Like, this is a spatula from kitchen, you know, so I'm there in the kitchen shop. That's nice. Okay, I'll take it.
People use it to stir the food. Some people just try on their, oh, that's very lovely. Okay, I like it.
Always try the toy on yourself before you try it on your partner. Very important, you know. Then you can know what you're giving. That's nice.
Maybe, you talk about the range too, because range is also a very important thing. So
exactly. All right, we'll talk about that. Anyway, just finishing this. So this is like IKEA type, and this is a fully, you know, really well made with all the design type thing. This probably cost me €70 or €50 or something like this. And it's like, what, 10, 8 euros? I don't know how much this cost. So you can start with the light stuff, you know, the easy, just to see if you like it. And then if you like it, you can go, all right, I'm going to invest on some hot stuff, you know. So test it out, see if it's for you, and play with it and explore different textures and again, the sensation toys and a lot of these other things. So let's talk about the range. Thank you for reminding me. One little tip that you can use in your play is to use a range of numbers, because you don't know, like I'm hitting myself here. Where's that paddle again? Let me hit this one. Okay, so here we go. So if I hit myself here, that's like a 4 or maybe a 3 out of 10 in terms of intensity, pain, sensation. Yeah. If I hit myself with this one, that's like a 7.8. It's almost an 8. Why did I hit myself so hard? Because I'm a sadist and a masochist at the same time. So it's like, spanking myself. So this range of numbers, 0, nothing's happening. 10 is a safe word, right? We must stop this activity. I always remind people that if you're going to use a safe word, and I highly recommend that you always use a safe word with who you're playing. It doesn't mean that the session is finished. You can just use the safe word to be precise about that particular thing. So if it's a nipple clamp that's becoming too much, and if it's too painful, you can't handle it anymore, you can say safe word. And it's like, okay, safe word on the nipple clamp, you know, safe word on the nipples, or that's a 10. It's easier to say just a number instead of having to say the safe word, especially because people are embarrassed about saying the safe word usually. You don't want to get out of the game. You know, you feel like, I don't want to be the boring one and say safe word. So, but if you say 10, it's kind of easier. And especially when you have this range of numbers, I always tell my subs, tell me when you get to 8, 9, or 10. 8 is not safe word, but I know it's getting close to safe word. So when I said here, this was a 7.8 on my leg. All right, this is 8, getting really close to 10. You know, I wouldn't have spanked myself harder, or, you know, if it was somebody else spanking me, I would have, they would have hopefully, you know, you hope that it will keep to that range. And if you want to play with people, what's the point of getting them to 10? Then you have to finish it. You want to play with the intensity in a space where it's comfortable but erotic and enjoyable at the same time. I like to play between 5 and 8, more or less, but that's because I'm a pain slut. So I like riding that 8. I like kind of playing in that space, like when I'm receiving pain. But for other people, they like more, soft pain and then a little bit of a 6 every so often, right? And of course, that 0 to 10 range will change from person to person and at different times. So if I've been really emotional, like I was in the previous video on Instagram, if you guys watched that, it's really intense vulnerability day. Yeah, try to spank me on a day that I'm feeling very vulnerable. My pain level is like, ooh, way here, way, way low. A little bit of a spank and I'll start crying and it's like 10 already. But if it's another day, yeah, and if I've had a really great day, if I've been super sporty, if I've done all the yoga and all this, I can also be really hyped up and wanting more intensity, and then I can take more. So it would be the same. And even within a session, maybe in the beginning, there's a certain, I'm a bit scared, and maybe a few things will feel like it's higher. And then later in the session, when you're more relaxed, you might be able to go harder because the person's warmed up and more calm and in the zone, in a sort of subspace, so they might be able to take more. So if this all changes, but this is a nice little trick that you can use as a dom, asking your sub, instead of going, how are you feeling? Are you okay? This kind of gets you out of the role play. You can easily just say, what number was that? Oh, mistress, that's a 4, that's a 10, that's an 8, whichever, and also reminding them to tell the 8, 9, 10. Because if you hit really hard, and they don't say anything, but they go, and don't say anything. So what number was that? Oh, that was an 8. Why didn't you say 8? I told you to tell me 8. So it keeps you understanding their boundary and where they're at. So you can ride that wave in a safe way. I love the numbers. So yeah, fantastic.
So that's the range people should really discuss in advance, and they should set the limits, right?
Yeah, we're kind of bopping back and forth through these different concepts. The Kink Lab, of course, is a 3-hour workshop. So there's a lot of theory in there. It's important to negotiate beforehand, especially because there's so much to choose from. It's this huge buffet, fetishes, kink, BDSM. There's so much to choose from. And maybe you like nipple clamps, but maybe not on the, maybe you like it on the nipples, but not on the balls or the labia. Or maybe you don't like don't like nipple play at all. Maybe you have super sensitive nipples. You're like, no nipple clamps. Yeah. How are you gonna know? If you just go, oh, the submissive, oh, anything you like. I love that one. So it's like, oh, mistress, can I have a session? You can do anything you like to me. I'm like, yeah, you reckon? Yeah, I have no boundaries. That's a good one. I'm like, okay, good. I'll tie you to this chair and go to the movies. How about that? Oh, but no, don't abandon me. You said anything. Anything is within there, So it's important to know your boundaries. It's important to know, okay, what do I want to do within this thing? What's important? What's in my eroticism? I have a huge list of fetishes on my website, kalismercury.com. You can put it down put a little thing underneath.
What's the website again? Just one more time. Maybe people didn't follow.
It's my name.com, kalismercury.com. Okay. And it's on the BDSM sessions. So I have all the fetishes there that I like, so this is my yes list, basically, my fuck yes list, the stuff that I like to do. And I also have a little blog underneath that you can click and go to, my favorite fetishes. And it has 1 through 30 or something of different fetishes. And what is the fetish? Why do I like it? Why do my subs like it? And so what you can get from it, basically. So then, you can check it out. And so you can find out, of course, this is just my list of fetishes. And the things I don't like, I don't put there because I'm not going to offer something I don't like. So you're not going to find needle play on my list, for example. You're not going to find takedown, what is it called? Like wrestling takedown, because I don't do that. I don't really like that very much. And brown showers, which is, doing a shit on someone. I don't really like that either. So I don't offer that. So in terms of your boundaries and your negotiations, you want to find out what you like. I call it the HYMN lists, HYMNA, actually HYMNA lists. You can also write that down underneath. I can send a link. I don't even know if I have that on my website, but I should put it there. The how, the yes, the maybe, and the no lists. So you can understand, like, what do you want in a session? What activity? So your yes list. I want bondage. I want spanking. I want nipple clamps. I want strap-on play. I want leather, not latex, maybe, you know? So it's like, think about what you really like. This is the yes list. I say is the fuck yes list. It's the list that you read and you go, oh, I want this so bad. Yeah, that's the one. And then you have a list of the no. And in the no list is the stuff that you read the list and you go, oh, no, don't do that. No, this is the hell no list. And then there's some list that we go, what could that be? Maybe, you know, in certain circles, maybe, I don't know, foot fetish, maybe I could do that. Maybe if you know, if there's also really nice boots, then yes, you know, so just kind of have your maybe list, the stuff in between. And when you have your lists, your 3 lists, then you ask your partner or person you're going to play with their lists and kind of overlap your yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And see what both people really like. And do that for a while. Once you've done that and you're kind of, all right, we've gone through all the yes, then start looking into the maybes and see where the overlap is. Importantly, you know, again, your partner might have a fetish that for you is a no. For you is that, oh, hell no, we're not doing that. It's okay. You know, don't judge them because they have that fetish. And, you know, hopefully you're not also going to be judged for your fetishes. So you can kind of be open to each other if you agree that you're not going to judge each other. Let's be open and try to be compassionate to each other, to our fetishes, because we're all going to have different things that sometimes will line up, sometimes won't line up. And so when you have the overlap of, you know, your lists and your partner's lists, and you've got a negotiation in place, and you can have that written down, you know, for the session. When you go to do the session, it's nice to have it down and maybe get the toys that match up with the things in the yes list.
That's amazing. So let me interfere there. So it's a very nice 101 to Kink, actually, for the couples who wants to start practicing that. So first, set your boundaries, defines what you like. When it comes to define what you like, because, you know, just there are so many things. You talk about the brown showers to all different kind of sensations. So it's quite a wide range. So people may not know just what they could explore. So that's the one other thing. But I believe whatever is in your fantasies at that moment, that's good enough to start with. Then later you will start discovering slowly if you are interested in. So
slowly or very fast.
Or very fast.
Some people are really gradual, slow. You know, they go into it and try one little thing here and there, and they just go for it. And some people are like, right, we want to do everything in one day. And normally they're the ones that have all the bruises the next day, and they're like, oh, mistress, why? You know. I told you to go slow, but it's okay. You're always going to have some excited people, you know, who do a lot in one, you know, and then explore different things and then go get really into something and then get out of it and do something different for ages. And you can also go into phases as well of the kinky stuff. You know, sometimes you're into a Indian food phase. You just loving Indian food and you just want to have it all the time. You know, you just go. And with the kink is the same. Sometimes you have a particular fetish that you're really into and your partner just totally get into focus of that particular thing. It could be latex or it could be, you know, pony play or something, or pet play like dog and cat play. And you get really into that for a while and then it dissipates or something else becomes more important. So it's okay. You know, like you get these graduals and that's fun because it keeps a lot of dynamic in the relationship. You're not doing the same thing all the time. Normally you get into a fetish, try that for a while, then you know you go to fetish party and you see some people doing something else and like, oh, let's try that, and then you know play with that for a while and then something else. So it can so much variety and so much options for different role plays that you can try. So you go through all these experiences together with your partner.
That's wonderful. So I'm going to ask this. For example, for me, this energetic sexuality is becoming more and more interesting, and it's more coming into my life. So it is a very different exploration for me. So I discovered it a couple of years back, and I'm diving into that. Is it the same with the kink? For example, when you just go into the kink path, is it do you always stick to just, do you feel stuck in kink, or just some people will explore a little bit kink and then go back to sensual, go back to energetic? Or once you are a kink, you end up in kink?
If you go kink, you don't go back, you say?
Yeah.
No, I think it varies, of course, different people. I've seen, I think if you have a fetish, I mean, women are very flexible with their fetishes, I find. They tend to be more flexy and kind of adapt a lot easier. And I noticed that when I have the couples come to me, the men are very specific about what they want. And the women, I'm like, I could do this, I could do this. There is a little bit more. And then when we do the things, sometimes the women are like, oh my God, I love this. This is awesome. And they just take over, so they might have gone, yeah, I'm flexy, I'm good. But then when they like it, they get really into it. And sometimes more than their partner. And they're like, so the husband is like, oh shit, I don't know what I've done now. What monster have I awakened? But I think it's fun. I think it's very playful. It's like, this happens a lot with swingers as well. Like the guy is excited to do it. And then when they get there, the woman's having all the fun. It's like,
certainly, it brings juice to the relationship. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think so. And
especially role playing too. I saw at the festival just the couples. I have friends here. I see their faces. I saw them just doing the role play with their partners, and that was amazing to watch them and to see the joy in their face.
Yeah.
So that's something, because we haven't explored, and we are exploring totally new thing. It's fantastic. So we all need to give it a try. Just we need to keep our minds a little bit open and free, and just give a try to the kink path, and then see whether we like it or not. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be our sexual life from now on then.
No.
So it could be just a certain exploration in certain time, and you could switch back whatever is more normal to you.
You were saying also how you love the energetic sex. You can mix kink with the energetic stuff really well. Really, really well. And I mean, I use a lot, like with the spanking, I do a lot of energetic, like the spanking becomes almost like my hand is doing it by itself. Yeah. I'm not, it becomes so much flow within it and so raw together. So the Tantra component and the breathing together component, which is also part of Tantra, that also enhances BDSM a lot. Like for me, it really has changed. It's changed my life because I was doing kink, but I was getting really exhausted. With the Tantra, it's much more opening, and it fills me up, it recharges me. So then I can do it a lot more and have a lot more fun, because I'm not controlling everything all the time. I'm just letting it flow more.
That's exactly the case.
They can mix what they're already doing with a little bit of kink, finding what they like. If they find a particular thing, sometimes just the strap-on stuff, like I said with my friend and his claw fetishes, you can find what you like and just add that, little sprinkles of kink, chocolate chips to your vanilla life, and see what is inspiring. It can add a lot of play and a lot of pleasure to really explore this. So yeah.
All right, perfect. So we have some people around here, and most of them are familiar faces. Is there any questions you may want to ask? Otherwise, just vloggers is coming in, so she's gonna show you a little bit of vloggers. But somebody's asking a question. Just feel free to unmute your mic and just ask a question. So we are not gonna keep it long, because it's already almost an hour right now. And we are going to keep it in our YouTube channels after we record this. So, but that's really beneficial for the people to learn these practices and how they will integrate to their lives and how could they explore this. For that reason, it's better just, we'll talk. And also, if we hear your questions, that will be sweet. So let's talk a little bit about the floggers and the pedals and whatever. And Nedret is coming in. She may have some questions to you.
Of course she does.
All right. Welcome, Nedret.
Before we connect, before she starts asking questions, let's tell you about the floggers, my favorite toy. One way to, so we were talking about the different things that you can get at a regular IKEA or hardware store, or even a 7-Eleven, you can get some kinky toys. But also, if you're going to spend money on stuff, spend money on floggers, because these are, I find them the most pleasurable ones. And it will make a difference depending on how thick the strand is, basically. This is a leather strand, and it's quite thick, like it's almost a finger thick. And that creates a sort of thuddy, almost like a massage hug when you're flogging the back and the butt as well. When you're flogging, it kind of has this sort of dense, grounding sort of touch, like the impact is really oomph, yeah. Whereas if it's really thin, you can see the difference here. I'll put them lining up next to each other. Can you see the difference? When it's thin like this, then it's a lot more like a sting, like a cane, for example. This one. So this would be more like a stinging sensation. People like sting, some people like thud. But if you're buying something new and you haven't started, I recommend you get the thuddy ones. Yeah, get the ones with the thick strands, because that will be softer and more easy to get into. You want to start light and then build it up. Also, think about the type of material that it is and how soft it is. And this is the same whip. I chose it particularly for a reason. This is the leather part. It's very soft, suede. And this is the canvas and rubber part, hard as a motherfucker. So this is extremely hard, painful whip. But if you get one that is a nice soft leather, it won't be so hard and painful. Yeah. So you can really start building it up and working through it and learning how to use it. Yeah.
And it comes together in the same whip. So there's one question that's coming to you from Gültaç, but just continue asking, and I will ask the question. Continue talking about more. I will ask you.
This was it for floggers. This is what normally people call these whips. Yeah, the term is a flogger. I mean, a whip is also an umbrella term for different types of. It can be a single tail whip, like a one single strand, or a bull whip. So the different types of whips. But this is more. It's called a flogger. Yeah.
Okay.
Look that up online, and sex shops. See, it's better if you go and you actually touch the material. Mm-hmm. If you go to different kink shops or whatever, it would be better. But if you can only buy it online, see if you can find out. Look at the details. Maybe it's what type of leather it is. And
mm-hmm. So also I see the ropes over there. So the shibari is one of the, I think, most famous thing coming from Japan to our life, to our sexuality. So what is the benefit of being tied? So I know it's surrender, but could you talk more about it? So maybe it's better to talk a little bit about this.
Was that one of the questions that people had?
Just why we use the ropes, just tying up the person. It's beautiful feeling. Just you totally leave the control to somebody else. So you surrender yourself to the other person. What kind of benefits you may have by surrendering? Even though I know the answer, but people may not know the answer. So tell a little bit more about that, if you can.
It's interesting. Bondage, again, it's a whole topic on itself, bondage. And I don't call myself a rope top that much. I use bondage, I use rope, and I use a little bit of shibari in my work. But I mainly learned 4 or 5 ties, and I keep it to that so that I'm really good and really fast with it. But consciously chose to not learn too much shibari so I can enjoy being a shibari sub. Yeah. So I can enjoy being a bunny and not be mind fucking. Oh, they're doing the tie wrong, you know? So I don't want to know. I want to know very basic so I can tie my subs. But the shibari part, it is like the surrender component is quite big, and just like being completely encased, you know, like not being able to move your arms and sometimes being in uncomfortable positions. It kind of creates, you want to push against it. I mean, for me anyway, I like to push against it and to resist it, and enjoy that resistance component. Of course, you can also be suspended and be kind of floating in the air. Like you have floor work, which is you just tie it on the floor and it's fine. Or you can be suspended, you know, on a suspension point, and then you're kind of floating, and then the ropes will dig into different places, and, you know, in different parts would be more or less uncomfortable. So there's a painful component in rope. There's a SM component in the rope, and it can be done softly or it can be done hard. So it's the same like the other ones, like the other kink things. You can do it very lightly or you can do it very hard. It's not just the difference between toys. You can also, like, you can use a hard toy very gently for sensation, for example. And same with rope. You can even do sensation with the ropes, just feeling it. Just a second, I think I'm going to sneeze. Is it coming? No. No, it's not coming. I went to the beach today, so a lot of salt water on my little heart. Thank you, Rich. Oh my God.
That's so sweet. All right. So the bondage and the surrender. Yeah, just it's coming. It's coming.
No, it's not coming in. Okay. So with right. So with surrender, it's so much depth with the surrender to really, you know, feel it's really relaxing, in my opinion. So
I say that the surrender is the freedom, because I use in the hypnotic orgasm too, because in the hypnotic way, when you surrender yourself, you allow yourself to be free. You know, you just allow yourself to let the control, because the control is really binding us, just keeping in our comfort zone. Whenever we just give away that control, you totally become free. That's an amazing place to be at. Then after that, all those fantastic undiscovered things come to your life. It's an amazing path to follow. That's how I see the surrender. Do you want to add up something else into that?
Yeah, well, I did your hypnotic workshop at the festival, and I was there with my husband, and so he was hypnotizing me and going through the different directions that you were giving the directions, the instructions. And I had a real, like, it was amazing. And then at the very end, I completely freaked out in a way. So I had real trouble with the surrender. Maybe coming back from the surrender, maybe that's what it was, you know, that sense of I felt safe, and then all of a sudden I was coming back and then I didn't feel safe. So yeah, it can really shake us up, and the bondage does the same. It can do the same, where especially if you're doing things with consciousness, you know, you're really conscious about, you're putting an intent to it. Are you going to do this tie as a horny thing, or as a healing thing, or as a letting go? I actually have a friend in Australia who's her mistress name is Priestess, you know, Priestess Desire, and she does healing shibari. Yeah, she's a healer. She's got a healing center, and she's also a healer, you know, so she does all these things, you know, and it's amazing to have all this healing. So I'm just so impressed at how you can do shibari as a healing tool. So if you can do BDSM, you can do whipping as a healing tool, as long as you go in with the right intention and you can play with your partner in that way, then yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah. So we are again coming back to the essentials, the main topic. So the intention is very important. Whatever path you follow, and what is your purpose, what's your intention. And second thing is if you are gonna just take the most advantage out of it, you need to know how to use your breath, your voice, and your body. That's really essential. Get the most out of it.
If you're gonna get the most out of it. That's the same for everything in life, isn't it?
Exactly.
Use your breath, use your body.
Yeah. And use your voice.
And use your voice, yeah, the sound.
Yeah.
How many times I should record that? I can't hear you breathing. Make some sounds.
Yeah.
In Norway, it's hard to get people to make sounds because they're all very quiet and polite, you know, they have to. So like, I'm like, I can't hear you. Make a sound. And so, yeah, it's interesting.
All right. So let's sum it up. So, you know, Nedret is with us, but she turned off her video. Probably she's busy with something else. Any questions you may have? And Kalis, also think about what you want to tell as the final words, or just summing up the whole just chat. It was a beautiful chat. I think it was quite enlightening for so many people, especially if you are just hearing these things first time. But maybe I summarize. So what are the key steps if you want to go into the kink world 101?
Always play with consent. That's the most important thing. Make it safe, make it sane, and make it consensual. That's another part that we didn't touch on, but consent is the main piece for me. Using safe words is super important. Doing it gradually, go slowly, bit by bit. Try things on yourself first before you try it on somebody else. And there's so much to learn. So you can learn I have a YouTube channel as well. There's a lot of different videos there about different components of kink. I also teach the Kink Lab, and I do coaching as well, like for couples and for singles who want to learn kink. I do stuff online, and I do it here as well when I travel. So if I'm coming, not sure when I'm coming to Turkey again, but of course the next year festival is up. So from 2 to 7 of May next year, 2023. So that's one option. I might be going. I have to double check my calendar. It's a bit far in advance, and I haven't even landed from the previous festivals. I need to ground myself and see what I'm going to do. But I do host some workshops here in Norway as well, sometimes in Amsterdam, in Holland as well. But online, I'm always available. If people have questions, they want to learn different things, I can do like quick, short, half an hour Q&As, you know, and you can, you know, get together with your partner or with a few friends. If you have particular questions, write your questions down and bring them. I'm not going to give a lecture. I'm going to answer your questions. So there's many options to learn and coaching through. I have many couples that also get like a coaching package so that they can learn as they're growing in their practice. They can like have a session and a few months later have another session as they practice the things I taught them, you know, so kind of go take it into your life, then come back, take it into your life. So kind of bit by bit, you know, skill by skill, you're growing your repertoire of kink activities.
Perfect. So this is Tantric Domination at Instagram, Kalis Mercury, and kalismercury.com is the website. So I put it on the chat. So I will also put it on the YouTube. So you could follow her and just learn more about it, and also give it a try.
All my links.
Yeah. That's beautiful, Kalis. Nedret, do you want to say any words before we close our meeting? Unmute your mic. We don't hear you. And Daria, Martin, Brett, if you want to say hello, we would love to hear your voice too. Nedret?
Yeah, there are some friends, familiar faces. I don't know if they have asked any questions, but I want to thank you, Eric, for hosting such a program. And for the ones who knows Kalis Mercury, she's really amazing. She's very experienced. She's an extremely good teacher. Yeah, she's one of the highlights of this on this area. So if you're interested to learn more, she's really amazing, and she's a dear sister. She's an amazing person. So I'm delighted. And both Eric and Kalis Mercury were facilitators in the Conscious Sexuality Festival. Thank you so much, Kalis Merkel, for mentioning the dates for next year, 2nd to 7th of May. So let's take questions, and maybe Eric, before you close, you want to talk about the November program, but let's hear if there are questions.
So let me tell a little bit about that. First of all, Kalis is really an expert. Kalis, I'm gonna be in Ansbaka and at the Tantra Festival and also Sexuality Festival, and it ends on 13th of August. Probably I will stay 2 more days. Then I will have 9 days break. I either just go to Oslo to visit you guys, or I will go to Helsinki to visit the friends in Finland. But we'll be in touch. So if I come over there, maybe we will do a session workshop together. Combination of King and the hypnotic, energetic world as we speak.
Let's see what
that will be very interesting, though. And finally, we are planning to have another festival, which we called the name as Love and Intimacy, in November in Turkey. So it's going to be a little bit lighter than the Conscious Sexuality. It is more intro to just intimacy and sexuality. So we will tell more about it as soon as we fix the dates and as soon as we fix the location. We are still searching a venue. That will be also amazing festival. And at that time, Turkey will be amazing. Plus 20s, not too hot, not too warm. It's perfect temperature to swim and spend the November in somewhere warm. So, guys, also we are waiting for you at the festival. Hopefully you will all make it. Thank you, Kalis. That was amazing. I will close this live YouTube and we will continue chatting with the friends if they